Okay, this is my presentation on Laurent Clerc, a history of the first teacher of the deaf in America. So Laurent Clerc's name sign is this, Laurent Clerc. He was born December 26, 1785. He was raised in Leblanc, France, and he became deaf at the age of 1. He actually wasn't born deaf. When he was 1 year old, he had an accident where he fell into a fire and it actually caused him to lose his hearing as well as his sense of smell. Clerc attended the Institution for the Deaf and Dumb at 12 years old in Paris, formerly known as the Royal Institution for the Deaf, according to Gallaudet University. And he actually excelled really well there. It's recorded in a lot of articles. You'll see the references here in a minute. That a lot of people didn't really think that he was going to succeed because of his deafness, but he proves them wrong multiple times, as we'll see here in a minute. The Institution for the Deaf and Dumb, the same school that Clerc attended, asked him to work for them as a teacher. So as he excelled through his studies, he became more well known in his school for excelling quite well and for being quite intelligent, and the school really wanted that. They wanted him to work for them. And it was during that time that Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet was looking for a teacher, somebody who was skilled enough and willing to go with him back to America and start the first school for the deaf. So on to primary accomplishments. On June 18th, 1816, Clerc departed from France with Gallaudet and arrived in New York on August 9th. Clerc did not know any English. However, Gallaudet taught Clerc English during their travels. Something interesting about this was that not only did Clerc not know English, but Gallaudet did not know French Sign Language. And so the two of them actually taught each other on their long boat ride back to the United States. And it's actually quite a testimony of really both their intelligence to have a solid foundation of a language in such a short amount of time, enough to teach it at least. On April 15th, 1817, Gallaudet and Clerc were ready to receive their first students. This was a lot faster than many of their sponsors had anticipated, and really what they had anticipated as well. They did not think that they were going to excel as rapidly as they did, but they started taking on many students within their first year. And the school continued to grow very quickly. Some additional accomplishments and life facts. In 1818, Clerc traveled to Washington to meet with Congress and the President of the United States with the hopes of making a good impression, which he did. As a matter of fact, it became quite the stir in Congress when he arrived and presented to Congress and the President of the United States what their school was doing and how it was the very first of its kind. Clerc married Elsa Boardman in 1819, and in 1821, the directors of the School of Philadelphia asked Clerc to teach them his signing system. While Clerc was teaching, he had developed this system that was proving to be very successful. And as a matter of fact, he went on to several other schools to teach his system to their teachers, which was a really big deal that he was able to come up with this system that worked as effectively as it did for his time. So for his later life, Clerc retired from teaching in 1858, and then in July 18th, 1869, he died at the age of 83. Just as some closing remarks, Laurent Clerc was documented as being one who was an inspirational and influential teacher and mentor and a good friend. In the article by W. Turner, he mentions that many students saw him in this way, that he was a very well-respected man while he was teaching. His life proved that deaf can achieve greatness, which is really the biggest testimony of his life. At least I think that he was able to prove to the world that just because you're deaf doesn't mean that you can't achieve great things. And here's the reference list I talked about. Thank you very much.